Yes.
How you going, mate?
I'm good, man.
Welcome to Capital D
Thank you.
and Dubai, I guess.
Yeah.
First time?
Second time, actually.
Second time.
Yeah, I came out right before the pandemic 3 years ago, almost exactly 3 years ago, and hung out with James and uh, was worried I was going to make it back to LA because it was that tight.
No way.
Yeah. It was. I flew back into LA, and the next day it was full lockdown. So that's how tight it was.
So you made it out.
Made it out.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What do you think of Dubai?
I love it out here. It's actually really, really awesome.
Did you have like a different kind of idea of what Dubai is like, and then when you came?
It's one of those things where you kind of like hear about it, and you're always gonna have an idea. I try to absorb what I see when I'm here, and it just kind of like came off as something completely different than what I expected, because I don't even really know what I expected.
Yeah.
But I love it. I fell in love with it, and being out here with my buddy James, we would be in Alan and Dubai and Abu Dhabi like almost every day. So I got to see kind of like all three, and like run around and get the full experience of the area, as opposed to being just here in Dubai. So it was nice.
Yeah, it's amazing city actually.
Yeah.
I always tell people it's like an onion, Dubai. Like for such a small place,
Yeah.
it's got so many layers. There's so much to see. So it's like,
Yeah.
we've been here for some time, and you always discover new things in this place. It's
Yeah.
it's
I think
incredible.
that's amazing.
So I had a look at your work, man. Amazing stuff.
Thank you.
Really, really cool stuff. And
Thank you.
and you shot one of my favorite TV characters.
Which one?
Logan. Succession.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
I don't know his real name, but
Oh,
I know-
Brian Cox.
Yeah. He's
So,
cool, man.
It's funny. I'm so bad because I don't watch all the shows. They're
Yeah.
always like, you haven't seen that yet, and I'm like, oh, sorry. But I know Brian Cox from he's such a prolific actor, and I went in and I looked him up just to go through his IMDb, and I was like, oh man, this guy's been in everything. And then you look at he's 78. He's like my dad's age.
No way.
And I think he's 78. Don't quote me on that. But he's at that age. He still has like 5 open projects a year on top of like the series, like multiple series that he's on. And I'm like, how do you stay on top of all that at your age and being in everything all the time? I'm like, wow, it's such a wild career that guy has.
Yeah, he's an incredible. I don't know if you're into Succession. I'm like obsessed
Yeah,
with that
I
show.
haven't.
to be honest
I
with
need to
you.
start it. Yeah.
And the guy is like hardcore. So I was like,
Yeah.
how was he like in real life? Was he a nice guy? Or,
Oh, yeah.
or
Oh,
he,
yeah.
He didn't come in the Succession.
No,
kind
he
of
didn't
role,
come in
or-
and like. No, he's super sweet guy. I think he had just flown back in the night before from something else he was working on, and so it's just a great great normal guy. We
Yeah.
just sat and talked about Scotland, because I love Scotland, and just the project he's worked on, and just kind of pardon the phrase, just shot the shit and had a good time, and like he was just very approachable and real guy, because if you look at some of his other roles where he was the police chief on Superbad, I think, what's the cop movie?
I know he's done like
He's done everything.
and he's like one of those like theater actors as well.
Yeah,
it's not
it's
like
very
his
theatric, yeah.
TV actor. So definitely,
Yeah.
he's insane, man.
Yeah, his range is huge. So like the Succession role is one take on him, but like having seen him in so many different things over the years, and he's actually been in like a lot of my favorite movies. So it's like
Yeah.
really cool to see him in person and work with him. So that was great.
Definitely. And how
Yeah.
long have you been shooting for?
I don't even know, man. I started. My dad gave me my first camera. He gave me a Nikon FG when I was a kid, and that was his like film camera. So, and then when I was in like 8th grade, I was in like the photography club at my junior high, and then always kind of like had something to do with art in some way, because I double majored in college. I have a BFA in ceramic sculpture as well as
cool.
photography. So it's like always something in that world. And as soon as I got into college, I was like first semester photography class and ceramics class, and then every semester after that all the way through was one, like I had both of those on top of everything else. So it's a part of my DNA at this point, you know.
It's amazing
Yeah.
photography. I mean, it's really like something that once you get hooked on,
Yeah.
it's impossible to let go of. It becomes,
Yeah.
like you said, part of your DNA, and you
Yeah.
just keep going with it. So you started in film, I guess.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's
Yeah.
good.
That
That's
was,
good.
yeah, I remember, I think I was living in San Francisco, Oakland or whatever, like right after I left my undergrad. And I remember like Canon releasing some of their early digital cameras and like being at the camera shop and being like, wow, what's this? And then like early on when I was an assistant working with Stephen Klein, like getting like the first like phase 1 P25 backs on set and running those on the Hasselblad 503s, and like seeing, because we would shoot everything film, but then we'd also shoot some digital, and like being a part of the, like that transition from, you know, teching film and being on 4x5s and RZs and Hasselblads and like, you know, the film world, and then moving that into the phase 1 takeover of digital medium format and like the beginning days of that. It was like really cool to see how that happened, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I remember that time
Yeah.
as well. And it's like, you know, I always tell people that was real assisting when you were like shooting 120 films and you had to count every frame and be ready with the film to swap so the guy
Yeah.
doesn't like lose a frame and there's no film and you like
Yeah.
you get killed. So like, you know, like it was
Yeah.
such a stressful.
It was like one of those, I would have a Tenba bag with like 4 or 5 Pentax 6-7 bodies with handle up, and you're walking backwards, and it's like swap, and you like grab it and you hold it out, and they like jam the lens on, twist it, and then take it away and hand it back, and it's just like
Yeah,
and
it's
just
full
like,
on. I love
yeah.
those. I love those days actually.
Yeah, it was a different world.
And
Yeah.
the transition to digital was smooth for you? Like, did you kind of resist at the beginning, or?
You know, I don't think I did. I remember it being kind of like one of those things where it's like I'll see something and I'll want to figure it out, and so I'm like, what is this? So I like want to push myself to try something and like see if I can make it work or screw it up or whatever. And I was that way. Like I remember being at Brooks Institute in one of my like lighting people classes early on. I was trying to get my master's at Brooks, but ended up leaving. And a friend of mine was like, oh, I just bought this like 20D, you know, or whatever. And I was like, I tried to shoot that and pass that off as film in my like LP class. But I screwed up because I had no idea what I was doing, and I shot everything as like high-res JPEG as
Yeah,
opposed to like
yeah.
raw, and like I was like, what is this? You know, so I feel like I approached it and like went after it and tried to make it work and relate it as best I could to like the understanding of film and like how negatives work with like, if you're gonna shoot
Yeah.
portrait, it's gonna have a look, so your raw file is one way, so you have to give it a look, and like you give it a profile so it fits and it becomes like the film in a sense. So I don't know, that was my approach. So
Yeah, I think what I find interesting actually when you speak to photographers who come from film and how they approach digital, and they approach it, you know, a little bit
Yeah.
like film, where you have people who started in digital and they don't have that kind of consciousness when it comes to like ISO, or where they just, you know, like
They just go.
do whatever's
Yeah.
comfortable. Where I think for people who started in film, they have these kind of boundaries, and you can't
Yeah.
do this or you can't do that, which I think. But tell me, like, your portraits. Your main thing is portraiture. From
Yes.
what I've
Por-
what I've said, and they're beautiful portraits. Like,
Thank you.
they're really really cool.
Yeah, you know, coming up in it, like working like in the Stephen Klein world, you know, it's like that's high-end fashion. Like I always kind of wanted to go into high-end fashion, and then but then like I always just find myself like falling into like, let me get into the tight, like find myself in here, and I feel like, you know, when I'm shooting, I'm looking through the viewfinder, and like I'm always watching the eyes of the person, and like through my viewfinder I may not see anything else. So it always comes down to the look and the essence in the moment and that. And so it draws me in and puts me in that place where I am in that portrait mode. And I think once I realized that like I'm a portrait artist. That's what I do. And I like came to terms with that. I was like, okay, like this is what I love. And like being in there and getting that intimate moment with a person and like capturing an essence or capturing something that I can't direct, like that dance that I do when I shoot with my subject. It like that's what I love, and that like portraiture lends itself to that capture of humanity, that capture of that moment, that capture of that person. It
No, yeah,
that's
it's
my world.
beautiful. I
Yeah.
think when the subject, I guess, let go, and
Mhm.
and they give you all this, because like the dance that you were talking
Yeah.
to, there's a time frame where how quickly you can get
Yeah.
them to kind of let go and be themselves. And
Yeah.
I guess with you over the years, that becomes a skill that you kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things that I work in the celebrity world, and it came up assisting through entertainment advertising, and you be on set, and it's like, okay, well, you have like this amount of time. Like when I shot David Lynch, his assistant came in and was like, you're going to set up here, and it was at his house, and I had like 5 cameras and like all this stuff, and there's like, you have 10 minutes, and I'm like, all right. And so I was like, okay, I have to go. And so I was like 4x5 Polaroid, medium format film, like medium format digital, and like 35 millimeter digital, and like medium format Polaroid. And I was like, okay, boom, 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 camera, boom, 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 camera, boom, 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 camera. And then I finished, and looked at David, and I was like, I think I'm good. And he was like, you did good, son. And then I sit outside and smoke cigarettes. And,
That's
it's like,
cool.
it's like you have that moment. So you have to get in, you have to
Yeah.
make them loose, and you have to like figure out how to do that. I think I had like 45 seconds with Snoop Dogg,
No
and I was like
way.
I was getting yelled at by,
That's a cool shot
yeah.
as well.
I was like getting yelled at by Snoop, by his like PR, or by the people that brought me on from iHeartRadio. And it like, we're there, and it's like me and my assistants and my agents over in the corner, and the people, and like I was supposed to have 15 minutes, but then I only was going to get the walkout from the time he
No
leaves his
way.
like dressing room to the time he goes on stage to perform. And all of a sudden, this little back room that I was in, that's probably like smaller than like the section that we're sitting at, like him and like all of his team and bodyguards walk out, and I'm like, hey, I'm Ben, here's what I want. And they're like, you need to shoot. I'm like, I need to talk to this guy before I do anything. Chill. And I was like, here's what we're gonna do. Let's roll. And he's like, cool. And we just boom, 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 change, boom, 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 change. Got it. Thank you. And like, I think I managed to get off 28 shots,
No
30 shots,
way.
and I think 26 of them got approved. So it's like, you have that moment to capture it, and if you aren't ready, and you aren't prepared to just engage and like create
Yeah.
with this person and do that dance, then it's hard to get the shot
And
and
that's
walk away.
like, I think that's the adrenaline rush
Yeah,
of it all,
it
isn't
is.
it?
Yeah.
To get them to relax, and you have to
Yeah.
be focused, and
Yeah.
it's like two opposite worlds. Like you like stressed, heavy duty, and they're like meant to be chilled,
Yeah.
and that's the magic of it that happens
Yeah.
in between.
A lot of that stuff, it is like that super big adrenaline rush, and you have
Yeah.
that moment, and you're like, move, get this, go, 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 and like then it's done, and you're like, cool, thanks guys.
Then you're a nice guy again.
Yeah.
So when do you think was like your moment, like when you thought, damn, this, like there was a celebrity,
I don't know.
or like a moment that you like, like I'm on the right track. I'm
I've I've been doing this so long, and I've like, you get to that point when you've like been grinding, and you're like, man, like I'm kind of over it. And then you're like, wait a second, I'm getting my footing finally. And like I feel like
Yeah.
every day I get back, like I'm in it, I have a new epiphany or a new like thought, like, oh man, okay, now I'm on the right track. Now I'm on the right track. I feel like I'm in that constant state of that feeling, because I'm always trying to like figure out like like what can I do to make, now that I've accepted that I'm this portrait artist, and I'm not going to be like, like some like, Matt Marcus, like Italian Vogue, like, whatever. Like I'm a portrait artist, and I'm going to capture people here. And I feel like I'm in that constant state of like learning how to like get that footing, and like push myself to that next level, and I don't think I'll ever stop going that way. Like I think there is no turning point. It's always a turning point. You like kind of constantly keep
Yeah.
creating a new turning point.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think in photography, like in terms of level, I believe in photography, like portraiture is like on the top, like
Yeah.
then everything falls,
Mm-hmm.
other kind of hierarchies. But to
Yeah.
me, portraiture is like it's an incredible form of photography.
I agree.
And it's like it's you also documenting history at the same time,
Yes.
because these people are they've had an impact on the world in some way or another, and
Yeah.
these images will be cherished forever. Where I love fashion, but fashion it's very transient. It comes and goes, and it's the moment. But I think like what I like about say Steven Meisel and what he used to do for Italian Vogue is his portraiture slash fashion shoot. I thought
It's the crossover.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
magical, and I think that is like the kind of
Right.
ultimate place where you want to be as because your portraiture have definitely a style to them. There's definitely that fashion
Right.
edge to them.
Exactly. I think that's what that kind of like background and his like and like growth process through like my assistant days and coming up and learning and studying Guy Bourdin and like Helmut Newton and like all the greats in that world, like bringing that like I love the dark portrait. I love the tension. I love the grit. I love that edginess, and I feel like I try to bring that within the movement or the dance or the light in the way that I portray people in my sessions, and so yeah, I completely agree with you that there is a place the way where they kind of meet and cross over between portraiture and high-end fashion. And I think there's a narrative there where they like become one and the same. So I do like completely agree with you on that.
And do you ever think like I've made it, and then
You can never think
an
that.
hour later you think, what the fuck am I doing?
I think if you sit back and you feel like you've made it, then you're closing yourself off to actually making it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
I thirst for knowledge and like understanding and growth in everything, and I'm diligent about always trying to figure something else out or teach myself something new. I'm a very technical person, and I love to like dive in and like constantly be trying to grow my understanding of something. And so like I don't like to stop. So I'm like constantly working on learning music production and like how to mix and master and like write and do all that kind of stuff as a separate escape from that, but also with sculptural processes and painting processes and like writing and everything. I feel like there's always something I'm trying to teach myself and learn more about. So like I don't ever think that I'm going to be done with anything or will have made it in any respect other than just like I will have accomplishments and things across the board as I grow, but that growth is what I'm after, like constant growth, because otherwise you're stagnant,
I mean, I always tell people about Helmut Newton, who's like one of my favorite photographers, how he was 85 or 86, and I think he died in an accident on his way to a meeting at Vogue.
I think he died in the driveway of Chateau Marmont, didn't he?
Yeah. But I think he's going to Vogue for a meeting, or so. And that's what's kind of exciting about photography.
Yeah,
that you can keep shooting till the end.
Yeah,
basically,
Yeah, there's always something to take pictures of. There's always people that need to be photographed, and there's always interactions that you can share with people. I mean, it's like sitting down for a drink and like catching up with someone. We sit down and like I bring my light in close and I like interact and chat and like just kind of dance and play and have and laugh about stuff and like have that conversation. That conversation ends up being a photograph that lasts forever, and I think there's a beauty in that there, and there's never an end to So yeah, I think that you can do that till you die.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And do you walk around with a camera
No,
all the time?
no,
You're not one of those.
no, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, I hate iPhone photo. Like, or I mean, I'll shoot stuff with my iPhone, but I hate like, oh, they're like, let's take a picture or whatever. My girlfriend hates me because I'm always like, leave me alone. I don't want to do it. Like, don't give me your phone at a party. I don't want to.
I
Like,
do it for a living.
yeah, like I like to do it when like if I'm traveling, sometimes I'll carry a camera, but I mean, I didn't even bring one up from Abu Dhabi. Like my camera kit's sitting down in the studio or at James's place. Like I I don't enjoy it. Like when I want to shoot, I want it to be set, and it's like, and like I engage in that, and that's my place. Like just being out and like whatever is not really my thing. There's a lot of people, a lot of great Magnum photographers that live in that world. You know, was I Omi Cartier-Bresson like was one of those like that. I love that stuff and I highly respect it. It's just I'm not that guy.
Yeah, fair enough. And what do you think? Where are we heading with photography? Do you think? Because you've gone from film to digital, so you've seen the number of photographers grow from like
exponentially,
few zeros at the end.
Yeah.
And I mean, the cameras have so much technology in them, and the iPhone is the biggest problem. You take a picture and go, wow, I can do this for a living.
Exactly. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. Like I see what's happening with AI and the ability to create imagery without even having to do anything, just like generative, imagery. I've also started incorporating AI into some of my processes when I can. Like I noticed just Adobe, I got an email that they just launched like a text to retouch, edit software or like a thing.
Wow.
So I mean, like the game is changing completely.
Amazing.
It like is 100% a different world than where we started, and so I don't know if I can even fathom what that's going to be, but like I try to incorporate the technology into my systems as best as possible so that I can like stay understanding of what's going on and stick and move with and not not be stuck in the past, but also open to whatever's coming. We'll find it out.
Yeah,
I guess,
it's interesting, definitely. And what about like I always think photography, like any creative business is great, and there's a lot of successful creative people, but you have to have a business mind as well to succeed. So how do you combine kind of the two together? Because I think it's something
tough.
that they don't teach you at schools. It's
No,
something you need to kind of.
It's been one of those things where like my lack of understanding of business has like caught me a few times because you kind of like you don't get that, and I'm not a business guy, but I have to be so good bookkeeper and a good accountant. and like that's kind of what helps me, but also like I've been surrounding myself by people that are in that world and trying to glean as much information as I can, and I'm trying to make that shift actually now into more of a business person because I have Ben Cope Inc., which is the company that I shoot under. That's my corporation, and then I have a secondary corporation that runs my studios, and because we have multiple studios and everything, and that's like event space and art galleries and whatever that we run out of LA. And so that's a separate corporation. And then I'm starting a foundation, which is going to be a nonprofit charity organization that focuses on education in photography and photo related mediums. I say that because I do so much more than just photography, like, and I always have. So I don't want to have my foundation be completely subjected to photography alone. And then with that, I'm also, speaking of portraiture, I'm starting to work on the anatomy of a portrait. Like I think I'm going to do kind of a theory-based book on portraiture so that I can utilize that as a foundation for any type of curriculum that I'm going to do on classes through the foundation for teaching photography. So I'm trying to structure myself as a business person in a way where I separate things out and I have things, operating and doing each thing in their place to build an entire network and a foundation for my career as it grows. So it's something that's like definitely learned, and still learning every day on that. So it is very hard to maintain that business mentality while also striving to be creative and stay fresh and not be completely beaten down by all of the business stuff that goes along with all that. And like it's a lot, but I think you kind of have to have a little bit of all of it to be successful across the board.
100%. I think sounds like you're doing some amazing
I'm trying.
work. Definitely. No, definitely. And if you could shoot anyone, who would it be?
I don't know. I never like to think in that respect, because there's no one that I'm out to shoot. I want to shoot everyone, and I don't necessarily like to put a stipulation on this is who I'm after. Like I like to leave it open. It's why I don't do a lot of research on people before I go into things either, because I like to approach it as like a first meeting, or like an introduction and like a learning moment. And so yeah, I don't know. I don't know who I want to shoot. I want to shoot as many people as will come through and allow me to work with them, So it's like, I think that's the beauty of Portraiture is that conversation,
No, but it's definitely, like you said, like not knowing who you shoot.
Yeah.
And it's then you see them as who they are, as a
As
human,
people,
as a human being,
Yeah.
as people, rather than it's this celebrity or that celebrity.
Yeah.
Because then you see them probably differently as well. Like
Right.
even if you don't want to, it's just that all the
you get this lens around a person that that kind of dictates your thought on who they are, and I like to take as much of that away as I can before I go into a thing. And just like these people roll into the studio and they're just people, and they're like, oh hey, oh wow, this is where you live, this is a beautiful place, this is the whatever, like, and we chat, and it's just like that. Well, it's a welcoming them into my home in a sense, and like, and then we, they sit down and get their glam, and we chat, and the PR and the people and everybody, and then we go walk over and we just start shooting, and it's like it's just a chill experience. So the less of a lens you can put on someone, or less of a framework that kind of like, oh, this is that person and they've done this and they've done that, like whatever, like walk in and you just say what's up and let's take some pictures.
I think that's the approach. How was J-Lo, by the way?
That was
this is special for the ladies out there.
No, that was a really cool one. I was shooting alongside a buddy of mine who was we were doing like social media alongside of a L'Oreal campaign with Good Company in New York and Vegas, and we flew to Vegas to shoot her. And it was like one of those things where we're at the tail end of the day and you only have a few minutes to do it. And like I had this like big like Breeza parabolic umbrella, which is gorgeous, and she's on this thing, and I'm chatting with her, and I'm like, hey, I'm Ben, I'm just gonna be shooting some portraits of you. She's like, oh well, maybe you should lower the light just a little bit. And I was like, okay, cool, and like do it. And she's like, beautiful, and we take some pictures, and that's it. It's like super quick. She was sweet, and like it was just a really pleasant experience. I also I ran into her again when I was up in Malibu, shooting when she was with A-Rod, actually, because when we did the Ralph Lauren Real Men of Gold campaign, she showed up on set when A-Rod was there. So it was cool to like go through and like chat with her again and catch up. So she's always been a pleasant person when I've worked with her. So
very cool.
Yeah, it's nice.
And are you working on any personal projects at the moment, or?
Personal projects at the moment? Well, we're working on putting together. I'm working on like imagery for the show out here that we're going to be putting together, and I'm working like pulling jewelry and working with kind of like over the top things with an artist out of LA named Alligator Jesus. He's known for grills for like pretty much every celebrity or musician.
Okay.
He's the grill guy. And
Cool.
so we're shooting some things, and we just did a mold of my girlfriend's face, and we're gonna do a brass faceplate, and then we're working on like some 3D printed stuff out here as well that I'm gonna incorporate into some of my photography for that. So that's one of the projects at hand right now. And then just constantly coming up with things and executing ideas. It's like there's always something. But right now I think we're focused on trying to figure out how to incorporate some of these like jewelry ideas and like mask forms into the photo, like the photography
Very
elements
cool.
for the show. So that's what I'm working on now. Yeah.
Very cool. So for the young photographers out there,
Yeah, yeah.
what do you say to them? Like what kind of what do they expect? Like embarking on this career of photography.
That's a tough one because the barrier for entry on one hand now is super low, and it's easy to get into, but it's also easy to get lost in everything that can be out there, and get sidetracked by that. I always say, just explore ideas and shoot, and like just keep trying to see what you can do. Play with light, see what it does, like test stuff out, see what's what, experiment with as many different things as you can, and see what works, like there's always a new light or a new like lens or a new thing or a new way of working or something that you can incorporate into things to try out, explore old techniques. Like I'm even going back into like that like 80s pantyhose over the lens thing sometimes, just to see what it does. Or I was with one of my gaffers. We were shooting a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "Oh man," I was going through your gel kit, and you had these skin tone gels that were, or cosmetic gels. He's like, I haven't seen cosmetic gels since the 80s. I was like, man, I just started using those again, and they're fun. Like I like totally forgot about them. You throwing a chocolate on something just to see what it, like how it changes the light and like how it works off the skin.
Definitely.
You have to constantly be exploring ideas and working out, like see, throw something against the wall and see if it sticks, like this.
So if it's a cocktail of perseverance, passion, and creativity,
I think that's
how do you break it up? Like 30-30-30?
I think so. Yeah, you gotta have thick skin, because people are gonna call you out or tell you shit doesn't work sometimes, and like you have to learn how to be objective. One of the things also I tell people is there's a transition point in my career when, coming up and looking at something and saying like, this doesn't work, and being like, what do I do, to like that change in mentality and understanding of my tools enough to look at something and be like, that doesn't work, here's why, and this is what I'm going to do to change it. Like that ability to reflect and call something out and look at it and say, okay, like this obviously doesn't work, but I have enough tools in my repertoire to flip the script and change it, and now this is going to look good because I understand what's wrong with it and how to change it. I think that was a big transition point in my life when I like that thing clicked in my head.
Yeah. And do you plan your shoots before you go?
Hate planning.
Or
Hate planning.
Don't, you just go by instinct and gut? And
I think walking in with like and this is me, like this is not everybody's cup of tea. Like I have friends that like full on mood boards, creative decks, and all this stuff. I'm awful at that.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't do a mood board to save my life. I like to be in the moment and have an idea of what I'm gonna do, but then like I feel like when I'm too directed by a narrative or too close to a concept, I lose the spontaneity of the moment, and not like, sometimes it's like, this is what we're here to do, but man, did you see what that light looks like over there? Like that's awesome, and like, let's pop over there and do something. I love the spontaneity and like like the happenstance,
Yeah,
like of
definitely.
like being within you set the moment, you put everything in place, and then you play with it, you know.
Find the magic
Yeah,
at the time.
yeah, because like sometimes you walk in with the best of ideas and it doesn't fit, you
Yeah.
know. The person doesn't click with it, like the light just doesn't fall the way you want it to sometimes, and sometimes you just have to call a spade. Like this ain't working.
You gotta
Like
move
what?
on.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
try something
Otherwise,
else. Yeah,
the whole
yeah,
atmosphere becomes really.
yeah. And then you get stuck in this world where you're like, well, this is what we're here to do, but like, who cares? You know,
Yeah.
like so we're here to make magic. You know,
No,
so
100%, 100%. And the transition from you were like an assistant to becoming a photographer.
Yep.
That would have been kind of an interesting period, I guess.
you know, it was really fun. And I was very lucky. I was in New York and I was working under Mark Seliger and Stephen Klein, kind of like back to back, and I was supposed to go on full time with Mark, and it just didn't feel right, and so I was like, I'm out, and we decided to split ways, and I flew back out to LA, and I called my friend Kevin Lynch, who is a entertainment advertising photographer, and I was like, Kevin, I like worked on his first big Disney job. He was actually Greg Gorman's assistant for a long time, and so like Greg, he grew up under Greg, and then I came in and started working under him. But I called him on my way back out, and I was like, Kevin, we worked together on this one job. Like, I'm coming back to LA. I need to be your first. And he was like, well, I don't have a position, like whatever. But he took me on as his first, and we just went hard and like, you know, bought like leased to have like $500,000 worth of gear and built out the studio and like just flew around the world doing like some of the craziest entertainment advertising jobs for everybody. And, you know, working in New York with Spielberg and Daniel Day-Lewis, or like being in Dublin, or being in, you know, just all over the world, just like constantly on the move. But while I was working with him, I also had convinced someone to start a photo agency and take me on it. And so I was one of their first photographers and was with them for a long time. So while I was firsting with Kevin, I also became a represented artist, and Kevin gave me access to his studio and his equipment and his cameras, and allowed me to use that to test and build my career as a photographer alongside of building his teams and running his teams and like and traveling and doing things. So I got to do that alongside of my career at the same time. So I was very lucky to have access to that and be like granted the ability to do that, because a lot of times people won't let you like be yourself. They like, you're there to assist them, and then when you're done, you go do your thing, and maybe I'll help.
Definitely.
But he gave me full access. So
And working with such great photographers, I mean, it's incredible. It's seeing how they work and how they deal with the subject and how
it's really funny how I fell into that. I always say like the best part about going to Brooks Institute was finding the flyer on the wall for the job in LA. And I'd like tried to get a hold of this guy and was trying to get a job there. And a buddy of mine was like, oh, I'm actually going down to work with him tomorrow. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, yeah. And so I called the owner of the lighting company. It was the big parabolic lighting company, Brisa, the German company. Yeah. The LA company was hiring and bringing people on, and they did everything for everybody. And so I called Brent, who owned it, and I was like, can I come down tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, you can come down and have an interview. And he was like, can you be here at 8? I was like, yeah. I was like, and he was like, how about 7? I was like, yeah, I can be there at 7. And he's like, cool, I'll see you at 6:30. And so me and my buddy drove down to LA the night before and slept on the street in his car, and like woke up and used bottles of water to brush our teeth and like spit it out, like, okay, let's go, and like walk into this place that I had no idea what I was doing. No idea. All of a sudden he's like, oh, put this camera in this case and make this fit in here, load this in this truck, go. And like, all of a sudden he's like, get in this truck. You guys are going to Universal Studios backlot, go. And no idea what I was doing. And all of a sudden I'm like rolling into Universal Studios backlot, New York Street, with this grip truck with this other dude. And I get there, and Dave Devlin, who is Steven Spielberg's gaffer, was like, I was like, can you build ultra bounce 12 by night bounce, and we're like, sure. No clue. Totally screwed it up. Totally did it wrong. But it was like a Jay-Z Rockaware ad campaign that I was like rolling onto for my first day at work.
That's
and
amazing.
Pretty sure I got fired that first day, but and that was with Mark Seliger again. But I worked my way back up into being able to work with these guys and work close. So it was wild to like experience that and go from just like my small understanding of photography to like being just thrown into the fire with some of the biggest people in the world, and then just rolling with it and learning and absorbing and being allowed to be into that space and see how it's done on such a massive scale. Like Stephen Klein doing Madonna's Confessions on a Dance Floor art with like just the wildest lighting setups you could imagine and craziest stuff, and just getting to be a part of that, insane.
Incredible, the journey. Like, when you talk about sleeping in the car to where you are now, it's like you've made it.
I'm still working on that.
It's a making progress.
But it's cool to have been a part of that journey from film to digital, and like being able to say like, I've worked with some of the greatest photographers in the world, and I've like been in these rooms and seen stuff, like little antidotes where it's like Linda Evangelista coming up to me and be like, what's the light look like? Pose with me. And you're like, what is this? Like these crazy little just like things that you get to experience by just like navigating through these worlds. It's been wild,
Amazing.
Yeah.
So we're very happy to have you here with us. And
thank you.
Dubai, we expecting some work to be done over here.
We're going to do that.
Exhibitions, we're going to see some. Excellent.
That's the plan.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for coming on the set today. Really
of course.
appreciate
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. Really nice catching up.
Thank you.